is awesome. Thank you everyone for joining us. So today we are here on behalf of Immigrants Rising, which is an amazing organization. And so today's topic is accessing financial capital. And here on the first page, we have the current Entrepreneurship Ambassador class, as well as our director, Ileana, here in the green. All of us looking cute like Teletubbies. So this is the agenda for today's presentation. We're going to start off with introductions of the Entrepreneurship Ambassador cohort, as well as Immigrants Rising staff that's on the call. We're going to have a panel with past winners and their journeys after receiving the Kickstarter grant, as well as before. We're going to discuss remote work opportunities, access to capital alternatives, entrepreneurship to serve a social purpose, and finally wrap up the call with questions. So we're going to begin with introductions of our team. And I can go first. My name is Sumana, and I graduated from UCLA last year. I was a bio major and did a lot of hustles in college as well as in high school. And that's kind of how I got my foot in the door. And I was also part of an entrepreneurship fraternity at UCLA called Sigma Eta Pi. I'll pass off introductions to Alejandro.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Alejandro Flores Munoz. I'm in Denver, Colorado, and I am right now a small business owner. I have a food truck catering business and a virtual kitchen here in Denver, Colorado. And Bo.
Hello, my name is Bo. Right now, I'm mainly an artist, and I own a clothing line called Illegal Drip that blends art and advocacy, and I just do different hustle as a non-documented and documented person, you know, just workshops and print clothes. Yeah, I'll pass it over to Kai.
Hi everyone, my name is Kai Martin and I'm checking in from Washington, D.C. I am a current grad student at George Washington University and I am an independent business consultant where my focus is on product branding, and marketing for social media. I'll pass it on to Norma.
Hi everybody, my name is Norma Castañeda. I'm a real estate agent with a salesperson license in the state of California. I reside in Los Angeles. I'm also a mobile notary public and engage in consulting services for business, mainly bookkeeping and business integration, and recently engaged and returned to e-commerce. And now I will pass it over to Gladys.
Hi everyone, I'm Gladys. I am from the Bay Area. I am a business consultant and also joining Immigrants Rising to help out everyone who wants to start their own business or who has any questions about starting their own business. So I'm really happy to be here with all of you, and I'm passing it on to Ilana.
Great. Hello, everybody. My name is Ileana Perez. I'm the Director of Research and Entrepreneurship with Immigrants Rising. I'm excited to be here with all of you today, and I will mostly be in the background doing tech support.
Great. Thank you, everyone. So that covers our team for today's webinar. The next thing I wanted to jump into is we have some awesome winners of the Kickstarter grant on the call with us today. Here are their lovely faces. We're going to transition into a panel where we ask them a few questions and they can choose to, you know, kind of jump through them and cover whatever is applicable to them. So I'll just walk through the questions just to give them some time to think through them, and then we can have Louise go first to answer the questions. So the 4 questions we have today is 1, please give us a quick intro and pitch about yourself and your business. Then, how did you get into entrepreneurship? What got you off the ground? How have you been able to use the grant so far? And finally, any advice for future applicants? Louise, if you don't mind going first, we would absolutely love that.
Samana, thank you so much. Hi, everybody. Yeah, my name is Luis Antesana. My co-founder, Maria Angel Leon, is not here with us today, but she's also part of our, our team. We started this together. So we're co-founding a software company called Juntos to College. Our software company is essentially a phone application that helps high school seniors find the career that fits who they are and find the college pathway to get there. And for us, college isn't just a 4-year university. College is any post-secondary education, including apprenticeships, trade and technical programs and certificates, community colleges, and of course, 4-year universities. Our hope is that we can, lift some of the heavy lifting, some of the weight that our counselors in schools across the country have, and make it easier for counselors, make it easier for students, so everyone can get to where they want to be, which is a great career, a great job that's really going to help their families and lift themselves up to wherever they want to be. So I never thought I would go into entrepreneurship. I am an educator by training. So I've been a teacher. I'm currently a college advisor here in Denver, Colorado. And I never thought I would go into this, but being in the game, being in the system and seeing the massive gaps, for me, I found a solution in technology for our team. And so what really got us off the ground was kind of sharing the idea, right? I always thought my idea was ridiculous, crazy, but there were opportunities for me to share it with educators, business leaders, and tech leaders. I took part in it's called an EduTech Startup Weekend, which is essentially a competition, but specifically for educators. And that's when I got really good feedback and the validation that my idea, our idea was worth it. And so Kickstarter here, Immigrants Rising, has been an incredible lift. So far, we just won this past month, and so we're barely going to start kind of using the funds, but we've already budgeted. We're going to contract 3 software developers to create a product, an initial product. We're going to spend some money on branding, on our marketing, on our logo. And then, we're going to spend some money on ensuring our business model, our business plan is safe, it's strong, and just take care of the core issues. We understand that software companies, it's going to take a lot of money for us to officially launch and be where we want to be. But we know that we have enough to create a really strong foundation. And so, for those who may already have started a business or are still in the idea stage, test it out, talk with some folks, look out for opportunities in your communities that where you can actually share your idea, and do it and just make it happen. Like I mentioned, an educator, never thought I would go into business, but here I am making this a reality. And with the hope that our idea, Juntos to College, is going to make a big impact in the world. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, can we have Amrit and Donald address these questions as well? And please just keep a quick eye on time as well.
Sure. Thank you. I'll go first. So hi, everyone. My name is Amrit. I am a South Asian undocumented queer filmmaker and artist based in Los Angeles. And then my partner is down there somewhere. Do you want to just introduce yourself real quick?
Sorry, finding that unmute button. Hello, everyone. My name is Donald Avi Stewart. I typically go by Avi, and I, as well as are partnered with Newsroom. Did you have anything else that you wanted to say before?
Yeah. Give me just a sec. So as an undocumented person being a filmmaker, it's been quite a process to, get gigs and jobs. And so the whole idea behind Newsroom, the reason I got involved in Newsroom and kind of wanted to work with Donald on this project is the fact that we just weren't finding jobs meant for people like us, a Black person and a South Asian person aren't typically the people you see on the screen or people working on these sorts of big multimedia projects. And so for us, it was kind of through our own experiences that we were like, hey, we need to find a platform that will align with, will help us find jobs. And so since we didn't really work with other ones that gave us good experiences, we decided to create Newsroom. And Avi can explain a little bit about Newsroom.
Yeah, so thank you, Amar. So Newsroom is essentially an a job searching as well as employment vetting service for visual and performing artists. As Amar kind of mentioned, one of the issues that we found going through our collegiate experience is that one, it was very difficult from which to begin building your career as an artist. As we're doing our customer discovery phase now, some of the things that we're really finding out is that a lot of artists, especially those from underserved backgrounds, such as people from the undocumented and people of color, have a lot of anxiety towards their essential professional pursuits because of a lack of direction and a lack of resources available to give them the building blocks to their career. Kind of the comparison that we've been, letting people know and pitching this is that if someone wanted to be a doctor, right, while the process to actually becoming one isn't necessarily easy, it is relatively simple with regards to the steps necessary to do so, right? You would go to a university, you'd essentially try to get the best grades you could, take your MCAT, go to med school, and so on and so forth. The process to success is very linear, so to speak. Within the artist community, as well as the journey of someone wishing to make a living in the arts, it's very much not so. And essentially what we want to do with Newsroom is to give some support to the artistic community, again, especially those from underserved backgrounds, in regards to allowing them the ability to take the career in their own hands and making their success a little bit more linear and reliable. Just a brief synopsis over how it would work. Essentially what we would do is to take someone who is essentially an artist, whether that be within filmmaking or acting or music. Essentially we define artists as visual and performing artists. We essentially screen them based upon what their experiences are, as well as what it is that they want from their career. And then we take the same process for someone who's wishing to employ an artist, i.e. let's say someone at a dance studio or someone who's wishing to cast a film or something of that nature. Again, say to them, well, what is it that you're looking for and the talent that you're wishing to have? And then we pair them based upon their preferences. And from that, we essentially just take a percentage of what would be the overall compensation for that artist. And yeah.
Yeah, and then we've sort of just kind of kept it towards Los Angeles right now, but our future goals, once we get more funding and grants, is to definitely expand it a little bit more in Southern California and then gradually towards all of California if we can. And the way that we are trying to use our grant right now, so we just won it literally like last week. And so it's kind of like, like COVID-19 has kind of changed a lot of the steps that we were gonna be taking. So right now we're just trying to figure out what to do with the money, and we have until August to figure it out. So we're kind of working towards that, and we already have our website developed. So right now the funds will probably be used to create our LLC and to start kind of funding other folks to jump on board as well with us. So yeah.
Thank you guys. So for the sake of time, we do have another winner on the call as well. We're just gonna go to the next section, but if time permits at the end, we're also gonna have another awesome winner, Brian, speak to these questions as well. So I'm gonna go to the next section, which is remote work opportunities, and I'm gonna pass this off to Norma.
Hi, so some of the basic requirements to start remote opportunities is that you're gonna need to be at least 18 years of age. There's instances where you can actually start as early as 16. You must be proficient with basic computer skills. Let's say that you know Microsoft programs, you know how to handle email, and you know how to do basic research. You're gonna need a cell phone and computer, and you're gonna need to have internet connection and access so you can, communicate with the clients that you're gonna be interacting. Basic English written language is also gonna be essential. You're gonna need to have a quiet working area so you can actually be free from distractions and you can work independently. That's very important because with your clients, you're gonna need to be able to get the job done complete and write and in a timely manner. And then the desire to work from home. This is one of the main areas. The first suggestion is to actually, if you're starting with remote opportunities, you actually go into freelancing. And one of the suggestions, obviously there's a list right here of different opportunities, but you can actually go into, for example, as a personal assistant. The things that you're gonna need in that area is that you're gonna be dealing with phone calls and correspondence. And you're gonna be actually probably managing the calendar of either a business owner, an entrepreneur, a manager, an executive. And you're gonna basically schedule appointments, maybe schedule some meetings and coordinate some special events. In that, if that executive business owner is active in traveling, they're gonna need you to actually book flight reservations, to schedule accommodations at a hotel, maybe coordinate transportation, which will be actually, scheduling, like reserving a car rental, or maybe scheduling for somebody to pick that individual up. There might be meetings that take place at public locations like a restaurant, so you're gonna actually need to do that. You might also go into organizing events and conferences, and for any of that, the person that you're working with, your client, is basically going to need you to be able to manage databases and filing systems. For example, I work as a real estate agent. So let's say that you work with a real estate agent. That real estate agent is going to give you access to their database of contacts. It's going to need you to update that information. It's going to need you to keep good filing systems and follow up with the clients or schedule appointments with the individuals. And it's going to actually ask from you to like compile reports. So let's say that it's going to be a business meeting, and the business owner wants to actually take a folder with marketing materials about the company, about himself, maybe a proposal. So you're going to need to put all those materials inside of that folder. Additionally, you can actually do some personal errands for active executives or managers or business owners. And basically in that area, you actually could run errands with the current situation. For example, if that individual needs you to run to the local market and buy some groceries, or they have prescription medication and they actually need you to run to the local pharmacy, or if they have a pet and they actually need you to run to the local PetSmart. If it's a busy executive, they probably don't have the time to go to the dry cleaner and pick up the clothes. And maybe they even need to schedule your assistance to schedule maintenance appointments, like the car maintenance or maybe a doctor's appointment. And so the skills that you need in this area, it's a lot of discretion, so that you're trustworthy, that you have really good communication skills, because you're going to be communicating with different entities. And if you're going to be running personal errands, well, recommendation is that you have a driver's license, a car insurance, and that you can actually do that role. If you actually want to engage in the area of customer service or customer representative or phone banking, I put in this area. My expertise is working with temporary projects where I actually hire phone bankers to actually engage with the community. So in that area, we hire individuals that are professional, have a positive attitude, that they have an upbeat personality, that they're able to engage with the person on the other side of the phone on like political campaigns or educational information outreach. You actually sometimes have to do what is like cold calling. You don't know the individual on the other side is probably a registered voter. So you actually want to have a really good background of the information that you're going to be presenting. If you're promoting or doing customer service for a business, you need to be really knowledgeable about the products that you're representing inside and out. And as you're going to be probably having to process orders or forms or applications, and so your communication skills have to be like on point. Either you're on the phone, on email, or messenger chats that nowadays companies use. Some of the requirements on that is basically that you have a positive attitude, obviously, and that you're able to remain calm at all situations. But because in customer service, you're going to be dealing with individuals that are frustrated, that are upset. So, and that when you're dealing in phone banking, you don't take things personally, because it's nothing against you. Now, another option is to go into what will be the remote notary public. Right now, there's a huge demand for notary public because right now we have interest so low, so there's a big demand for notary public. So the requirement to be a remote notary public first is that you need to have a commission. So you get your notary commission from your state. So I would suggest you do research on your specific requirements for your specific state. I'm located in the state of California. So for us, you need to be at least 18 years of age. You need to take a one-day course, which is about 8 hours. You take a state exam, and then you do fingerprints. With that, you get your certification or your commission. And with that, you actually go and produce your stamp with your commission number. You're gonna need to buy a bond because it's required for you to practice to protect the public from any error that you might commit. I suggest also that you buy the errors and errors and omission insurance, because basically you want to protect yourself from any possibility of getting a lawsuit. And you're gonna need to buy your journal, your ink pad, your stamp, and pens and clipboards, which is very important to have. And you need to have like really good records of your transactions, so you can keep really good records in there. So the next slide is gonna be like some options where you can find freelancing opportunities. The first couple ones are like the best ones in terms of like a lot of individuals are providing the freelancing services. So Fiverr and Upwork provide like most of the areas of like bookkeeping and website design, and you can do personal assistant or virtual assistant. And then TaxRabbit is more tailored to like small tasks that you need to help somebody with, like helping to set up something in their house or clean up something or run an errand outside. Once you have the skills in that area of freelancing, you already have exposure with your client and dealing with individuals, and you acquire like some experience, you can go into the area of consulting where you actually help individuals solve specific problems. In this area, for example, I have engaged in the area of bookkeeping, which is basically you oversee a company's financial data and develop systems like the chart of accounts, and you're responsible for like the accounts payable, the receivables, or the payroll. Now, if you engage in payroll, you go into areas like human resources, and you need to be accountable for the documents of new hires, the compliance, helping to make sure that they have the workers' compensation on point. You might have to do some general ledger entries and some bank reconciliations. And basically for that, you need to be always updating yourself with compliance with federal, state, and local requirements. You need to be on point on filing reports. And if you have to deal with audits, like for example, workers' compensation gets audited every year, you need to be knowledgeable about that. And then if you have to deal with internal or external financial audits, then interacting with the auditors to actually provide the reports that they're requesting. So for this area, you actually need to be very detail-oriented, excellent data entry skills, especially if you're dealing with areas of payroll, because you're gonna be inputting numbers like the social security number, the addresses of individuals. You cannot miss an apartment or a suite or a space number, because if you miss any of that information, the individual is not gonna get either the W-2, their 1099, or any important information that is important for that area. Last but not least, an area of an opportunity is e-commerce. I personally engaged on eBay when I was doing my undergrad studies. I opened an eBay store and I was selling women's clothing and accessories. I actually just returned to do online sales, and I'm actually adding makeup and other items for women, because at the end of the day, every woman wants to look pretty. And so makeup is one of the areas that you can actually like do simple sales. And I'm looking into like areas of expansion, like using the Poshmark or the Mercari app to like tailor to other audiences. So this is a great opportunity for you to actually go into e-commerce. So here's a list of suggestions for you to actually consider. And with that, I will leave you with the next person that is gonna be sharing more resources, and that's Gladys and Alejandro.
Hi everyone, my name is Gladys, as I mentioned, and let's talk about the next step, right? So now that you have your business idea, it's time to talk about the money and how you will fund the launch of your business. The first step is to create a budget as accurate as you can to determine how much money you will need to launch and maintain your business month to month. Think about all the expenses that you will have from purchasing business cards, business licenses, things like that. Once you have that budget, you'll know what kind of capital you need and how much money you need. Capital represents the monetary resources to invest into your business. So it's to purchase things, to launch, to build a website, for whatever you need. And depending on where you are in your business and how much money you need, you can decide what type of capital you can go after. Many people that start their businesses with their own savings. And some people, like business consultants like myself, we can start with the simple laptop. So we don't really need a ton of financing. For other people, like for people that want to start restaurants or food trucks or things like that, they may need up to $100,000, right? So depending on what you need, it's important to have a realistic and a solid budget. All funding is different and it caters to different types of needs. So for example, bank loans only cater to folks with established and profitable businesses with solid credit reports. For others who are just starting, CDFIs and nonprofit lendings and fundraisers can be the better options. I'd like you to take a couple seconds to just look over this chart and think about the type of capital that you need depending on the amount and where your business currently stands. Alejandro will be discussing his experience with funding with all of you as he has launched a couple of different businesses. So he'll be talking a little bit more about that. So I'd like to remind you that Immigrants Rising has a $2,000 Kickstarter grant that can help you launch or grow your business. The application is still open for the month of May, so you can actually go ahead and apply tonight, and we can review and consider your application for this month. I'm actually gonna add the link in the chat box so you can look through it if you haven't done so already and apply if you haven't yet. All right, so now that you know what type of financing you need, you have to make sure to prepare yourself to apply for that type of funding. A lot of businesses, funding starts by looking into your personal finances. So here are 5 typical things that you can look for. The first is your credit. What does your credit history look like? Do you have any collections? The second one is your capacity. How much can you afford? You know, how much are you going to be launching yet? Like all of that. The third one is collateral. Many lenders will ask you for a guarantee in case that you can't make any more payments. So think about what you can offer as collateral and as a good faith, right? So if you have cars, if you have inventory, things like that, that's the kind of collateral that can be used. The fourth is capital, and this goes back to talking about your budget and how much money you need. What is your current situation, your financial standing, and how much have you invested on your own? The last thing is the conditions, the current conditions. Have you done all your homework? Have you created a business plan? And have you done all the research that you have to do to make sure that your business succeeds? So these are the 5 C's, and you can just take a couple of seconds to look over them again and think about where you stand financially and how you can, you know, what you can work on to make sure that your business grows and your business succeeds. All right, the last thing, I want to give you a quick look at the list of questions that you should be asking before you take on any money, especially if you take out any loans. There are tons of shark loans, and I don't want you to fall into any of these traps because they can be very, very expensive and damaging. Make sure that you know the loan amounts, the fees, the interest rates, how long you have to pay back the loan. All of these little details will add up. So make sure you read everything before you sign. Make sure you know exactly how much money you'll end up paying. I do want to give you this really quick example of a company that I heard an ad for a couple of weeks ago. And this is what I found on the website. The loans start at $2,600 and they are $388 payments with an interest rate of 184%, 184.36. So if you pay the loan as established, you end up paying $18,254 from the $2,600 that you borrowed. So this is why it's really, really, really important that you read everything and that you ask as many questions as you can. With that in mind, I do want to pass it over to Alejandro, who's going to be giving you a little bit more information and sharing his experience with funding.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I hope you all are having a good day. I'm Alejandro Flores, and I'm going to be sharing with you all some of the lived experiences that I've had to go through to acquire or establish my businesses. I've been able to now have 3 hustles. It all started with a side hustle. I had a side hustle, sunglasses, a side hustle of selling buttons in the streets. And now I have my main hustle, which is a food truck business owner and catering owner. I'd love to hear what hustles are out there. So on the chat box, just put on there for us to engage with you a little bit. What are the hustles that you are planning to do or that you already have? But just to give you one of the quick things that I have used and that I know exists in many communities is a business accelerator loan or programs that exist out there. So I would encourage you all to Google business accelerator programs in your area, because more than likely there's hopefully something along those lines, which is a nonprofit organization that's out there that can give you access to capital. This specific one, which I love, not only gives you access to capital, but they want to ensure that you understand financial literacy. And so they'll walk you through a couple courses before they actually even give you the loan, which, to be honest, is not a bad thing to have. Because, for example, in my end, my mother wasn't a banker. My father, didn't have entrepreneurship experience. And so going through something like this can definitely help you and set you up in the right direction. So moving on to the next thing, and something that I have actually just recently utilized, which is like a cash mob. A cash mob mentality. Giving a quick example of the tamale cash mob, Marta, who you see here, recently sent me a message on Facebook saying, Alejandro, do you have any work for me right now? It's been 6 weeks since I haven't worked due to COVID-19, and I want to see if you have some hours for me. Unfortunately, I saw a huge reduction in business since COVID-19 took off, and I told her that I didn't. But I knew that Marta cooked some really, really good tamales because I met her at an accelerator program called La Receta, which she went through a 6-week course, and I was one of the mentors for the program. Long story short, we were able to put together a short Google form asking people to place their orders from Monday through Wednesday, and deliveries were going to be given on Friday. Well, Marta was able to sell 280 dozen tamales, which resulted in $5,600 cash on hand that she was able to quickly have access to, which will then allow her to use those profits to buy, bigger kitchen space or materials. She's gonna actually use this money to buy herself a huge mixer, because she's like, Alejandro, it was so hard to try to mix all that masa for 280 dozen tamales. So accelerators, cash mobs is number 2, and then moving on to number 3, which is, if you are already an existing business like myself, I have been using Square for all my businesses, Unum Sunglasses, Progressive Button, and now Stokes Poke. And what that has done is that Square has been able to see, I have been able to kind of like build a relationship with them, because they're able to see that I have transactions. They're able to keep a record of how much I generate, how much revenue I bring in. And based on that, they then offer, they have an opportunity to give you access to capital. So take a look at the existing platforms that you already use. There's Stripe, there's Square, there's Shopify, there's a lot of platforms out there. For me, Square has worked. My first loan that they gave me was $2,000. My second loan was $6,000. My third loan was $8,000. And my credit line with them increased as I was paying off my loans, and I was paying off the loans based on the transactions that I make. So they take a little percent from each transaction to pay back this loan. So I was able to pay it based on the transactions that I was generating. Right now, things are slowed down because of COVID-19, but I'm eager to continue to grow, because we now have adapted our menu and our concept to meet COVID-19 standards. And having said that, I'm moving on to the next, and I believe that is entrepreneurship to serve a social purpose. Thank you, everybody.
Can I have a next slide, please? Thank you, Alejandro. So, all right, cool. So what is social entrepreneurship? Just to start with that. Social entrepreneurship, you can Google it, so I'll just give you my definition. At first I thought about reading it out, but essentially a business solves a problem, right? You have a demand, like a product or service, and a business acts in that. A social entrepreneurship is pretty much entrepreneurship with the social sprinkles on it. So that means you solve more than just a problem, right? You might create a product that helps out a community or represents a community, and all this, like the way you run business could represent different types of people, open up opportunities for different folks. So in a nutshell, that's what social entrepreneurship is according to us, but Google will say something a little different. So to talk about this, I'll give you my example. I have a clothing line, and pretty much it's just, we have shares like abolish ICE, human beings legal on stolen land, and immigration is, and then all these like different issues, all these different like groups of people. So what I see social entrepreneurship is that it can have tangible and quote unquote non-tangible like shifts and changes. And the non-tangible is pretty much more like shifting narrative, right? In terms and building community power. So like to think about that, you can think about how you present the business and who is the part of the business. So how do you present your service or your product? Like, does a service, is it accessible to everybody? Does it empower people? Do you hire people? Do you kind of like represent other people who are usually misrepresented? And like, you can think about all the isms in the world. Since we live in America, there's so many isms like racism, sexism, and all these isms. So you can just tackle by that, right? Like, does the product or service address that and shift that narrative, or even brings money or hire and support folks who are affected by all these isms, AKA POC and marginalized people? And then, that kind of, I talked a little bit about that already, but that's also like with tone, empowerment, and reclaiming. So you can reclaim, right? You can reclaim, like, instead, like for me, instead of buying like, all right, you can go buy like some basic shirts, right? Or you can just be like, oh, okay, undocumented pride, it's just things that can have people reclaim and relate and just tone and empower one another. And again, inclusivity, just including everybody. Like right now, like a lot of product and service, we only see white people or like men as like a lead or as like what it is. So kind of like shifting that and including more people. And I'm gonna shift it to Kai soon, and then pretty much, yeah, I'll just shift it to Kai, which is she's gonna talk more about footprints.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bill. You did an amazing job. So we're going to just move right into business footprints and what that means, because when we're talking about social entrepreneurship, ideally we want to focus on two areas, and it's community outreach and generational wealth. So I have some questions here that you can just think about while I'm presenting. But the first thing we want to focus on is, does your offered service match up the mission statement of your business? And as Bo mentioned, identifying the needs of the community is important in order to ensure that you are providing services that can most benefit that community. Next, moving right on to who have you reached during the course of your business. That speaks to community groups, racial groups, and other people and who you can partner with. I want to say that it's really important that you understand who are the people that you're offering services to, which groups have you reached out to, which groups are impacted, which groups are affected by your business. It's important also to see if your people are not satisfied with your business so that you can go back to the drawing board and maybe revisit some of the methods that you use and present it in a stronger manner. Lastly, who have you partnered with outside of your everyday circle? This, I really want to stress that it's important to know that who you know impacts how you grow. And what I mean by this is, have you identified other community organizations in your community that can help your business with the resources and the services that you offer? During the current pandemic, I have an example. If you are a caterer and you're connected to an organization, they can be able to help you provide services for essential workers where on one hand, you're receiving money. On the other hand, this organization is directly doing something to help our essential workers. So again, it goes back to saying, look, who you know impacts how you grow. Get involved with other people that don't look like you, that don't sound like you, but they have something that you would need essentially to grow. Next slide, please. So I love this part because it's something that we always talk about, go secure the bag. Let's just say this, it's very common in the immigrant community that we limit ourselves to only dream as far as our status will take us. That's a wrong mentality to think. I like to say this, I'm not securing any bags. I want to be the factory that produces the resources needed to create the bags worldwide. And what I mean by that is I don't want to be the one who suffers and I'm just paying a monthly bill. I'm just working every day as hard as I am, and my family would not eat years after I've already left this business, and they can't carry on what I've already started. So with that, I want to say, we have to dream bigger than you can imagine yourself right now. See your potential, and don't just secure the bag. Build those factories. You can start a scholarship. You can start a community center. No one says that we cannot accomplish the things that we're capable of doing just because we're undocumented. I don't agree with that lie, and I don't walk in that lie. If my family's gonna eat, they're gonna eat for generations to come, long after I'm gone. Next slide, please.
Let's just clap for Kai real quick. I know she might not see it, but that was so powerful. Thank you, Kai. All right, and then back to this because we're on time span. So once, like she said, build a whole factory, right? And when, whether you build a factory or a house, as time goes by, make sure to invite people onto the table, right? As you build a platform, that platform could be partnerships with nonprofit, with school, with community, by giving back, donation. It could be collaboration, right? Like if you do a service, maybe tax different things, you can bring different folks, provide internship, provide like empowerment and knowledge for them. So think about everything that you needed in the time, and then now you can provide that for other people since you already spent time building that. We don't all need to start from zero, because we kind of just, that's what generations do. That's what when they say like, oh, ancestor this, ancestor that, that's what it is. Generations, we have been building knowledge and power for each other and supporting one another, right? There's a lot of undocumented hustlers out there. So we really should support one another. And sharing platform is like a similar thing, and uplift stories and causes. So if you have a platform, have advertisement, have whatever that you do, share that with different things. And to give a quick example, pretty much as a clothing line, I'm doing collaboration with other undocumented artists. We partnership with like nonprofits. Sometimes we donate money there, and we also uplift like stories and causes featuring different like writers and different folks like that. And I'll pass it back to Kai.
Awesome. Thanks again. So when we talk about reinvestment, I just want to focus on a few things. Reinvestment is the use of your time, your resources, your talent, and your business space to help others. Briefly touching on business space. Let's say if you're a coffee shop owner and you know of an undocumented book writer, if you can help that person by doing their book launch at your coffee shop, that's you reinvesting and giving back to your community. Next, it's sowing into your community with hopes of seeing a fruitful return down the line. Who have you mentored lately? Who else knows that one great recipe that you have that when you leave, they can take it and take it to another level? Look, I'm not intimidated by anyone who I share any information with, because when they win, I win, but also our community wins. And that's important for us to do. Invest in our community, because when all of us win, it's a win for generations to come. We change, as Bo said, we change the narrative when we do things together. We can't work alone. Just moving on to the next slide really quickly.
Okay. So intention and accountability. This thing is blocking all my view. So what is the point of the business, right? If you want to do social entrepreneurship, make sure to think about what's the point of it, right? Like if the point is to represent people, then make sure whatever you do, you come back to that point. You come back to that point. If your business exists to share resources, always come back to that point. And that takes accountability to yourself and the morals. So let's say like undocumented folks, oftentimes they they don't get paid properly, they get taken advantage of. So if you were to become like have your own business, when you hire folks, make sure you shift whatever action that has been done to you. Is kind of like, and then you want to empower folks, you want to do all these things, and it's just accountability to yourself and to like the values that you set out for the business, and have the business be the vessel to help people and to improve the world, right? Like not let people go through the same struggle or BS that you did.
Yeah, of course. So again, it's the governing rules when it comes to ethics that your business operates under. And just really quickly, timely services matter. Always remember that as a business owner, your urgency is not someone else's emergency. Learn to operate on time, set deadlines, listen to people's calls on time, return emails on time. Lastly, Jay-Z said it, I'm a businessman. Be professional, operate under integrity and with honesty. People will tend to work with you better if they know that they can trust you when you're not in front of their faces. And with that, we just want to take it quickly into our question and answers. So do we have any questions out there that we can start passing on to the fellows?
So I'm gonna try and open up the chat box. I'm not able to like drop it down. Okay, there you go. So here on the chat box, you can start submitting questions if you have any, and then we'll start answering them. So feel free to send them in the chat box.
And the questions could be about anything. You have like a bunch of undocumented entrepreneurs, like folks from different places. So anything.
There's a question that I can take. It says, how much do LLCs or sole proprietorships typically cost? In my experience, and I've had to open businesses in various states, California, Colorado, Philadelphia, and Boston. And the way that it's worked for me is there's typically like a small fee for just the actual LLC application, ranging from $30 to $70. But then you also have to then take care of taxes. Like there's a threshold that you have to pay in advance. It ranges a state from state, but it can range from anywhere from $500 to $800.
Cool. Another question we just got was, how do you navigate legally advertising your business serving undocumented folk and run by undocumented folk?
I can take that question. So with regards to advertising your business, Maria, the first thing you want to do is identify which platforms, social media platforms are very beneficial. And there are platforms that you ideally can connect to that house undocumented business owners. If you are connected to our entrepreneurship group on Facebook for Immigrants Rising, that's a place where you can advertise just the services that you offer. But if you're speaking about advertising in general, it's legal for you, once your business is in operation, it's legal for you to operate on any social media platform, but you have to know which platform people will most be needing the services. So that's the first thing I would say to you, identify the kind of service that you offer. And if it is for maybe photography, maybe an Instagram might be a better pitch for you to do and to put up your work and to pitch that, hey, this is the services I have to offer, these are my packages. Or if you're offering like some type of catering services, if you're giving what I do, business consulting, you may want to then push yourself on social media, such as Facebook. I also do push myself on LinkedIn because that's where most professionals and other business owners are, and they would need the assistance that we can offer. But I think it's just first identifying what you do and then the who behind what your services can benefit. So I hope that answers your question.
And then the real quickly on the legality part, none of us here are attorneys or lawyers, but you can start entrepreneurship regardless of status. So remember that. And in order to be able to buy ads and anything like that, you just have to go through the process of obtaining your business licenses, and you can get that through an ITIN, EIN, various ways.
Another question that we had pop up was, has anyone had experience speaking with potential investors?
I can kind of answer it. I have the experience, but it didn't lead nowhere. It was pretty much a business competition at my school. So we talked to a potential investor, but we didn't win. So just to break the silence, that's as far as it went.
And here at Immigrants Rising, we actually have an amazing network that we can connect you to. We have a few past fellows and other people that have participated in our workshops and stuff like that, that are in all types of sectors. So we've had a few people who are undocumented and launched their tech businesses and got investor funding. So I'll put the link in the chat again, but feel free to connect with us individually so that we can connect you to the best person to help you.
The next question we had pop up was from Pedro, who said, I'm in the process of forming an LLC for my public relations / government affairs consulting in California. I'm trying to make sure that I don't miss any deadlines for taxes or any important filings I have to complete throughout the year. Is there a checklist or schedule available?
I can actually answer that one. There isn't really a checklist that you have to go through, especially because depending on where you are located in the state of California, things run out at a different time. So for example, if you're registering the name under a DBA, doing business as, certain counties the names expire after 1 year, for example, and in other counties they expire after 5 years. So everything is very different. What I could say is that, especially with the state of California, if you register an LLC or a corporation, they are very, very enthusiastic about getting their money. So they will send you reminder emails once it's time to pay your taxes, either if you have like a seller's permit or when it's time to renew. But unfortunately, as far as I know, there is no deadlines, no checklists or anything like that. But a lot of that is because you have to renew when it's your own time. There's not really like an ongoing calendar, and every county and every city is completely different, and they have different processes.
And I can add to that too. Usually the state of California, you have to check with statements of information where they have to be submitted, usually every 2 years, unless your business has specific regulations. If you're going to be running payroll, you should also check in regards to IRS deadlines. There's to submit payroll taxes, you need to submit every quarter. There's deadlines based on the amount of payroll that you process every week, every 2 weeks, or every month, or whichever is the method of payment for payroll. You need to, they're going to send you a notification of what's going to be the timeline for you to be paying those taxes. There's quarterly reports, there's yearly reports. So every year, businesses are required to submit W-3s and send out W-2s by a certain time. And then there's deadlines to submit your 1099s. So I will say check with what are the regulations, check with state and the IRS deadlines and your local governments.
So the last question for today's session, because we need to wrap up soon, is, are there any potential advantages to when you form an LL, i.e. filing later in the year, like fall or winter, or immediately after tax season, like April or May?
Again, I think it depends a lot on where you are, because every state and every state is different. So yeah, I think it'd be best if you talk to us directly to see how we can help you out. I think that's the short answer. And I think there's a few more questions, just one more question that I do want to get to from Juan in the Q&A. So it says, how do you recommend saving money then investing into your business? Or do you recommend taking out a loan? And then also on how to build credit without a social security number. So as I mentioned, though taking out a loan, it really depends on you and your personal financial standing and like what your needs are. Because for some people, they rather just save the cash that they have for emergencies and take out a loan. For others, they rather not get indebted at all. And actually with an ITIN, you can build credit on it. And we have a guide on Immigrants Rising that talks about all on ITINs and how you can grow with them. So if you haven't done so already, check out all of our guides on the Immigrants Rising website. We have a bunch of information on it there. So I think Bo just put it on the website on there. It says immigrantsrising.org. And I'm just going to put the link one more time in case you guys have any more questions to reach out to us directly.
Cool. So that wraps up our presentation for today. Thank you so much for everyone who joined us. Thank you to the past Kickstarter grant winners who presented, and also thank you to the staff and other fellows in the Entrepreneurship Ambassador Program for this year. This webinar is currently being recorded, so hopefully it should be up on the website. If not, feel free to follow us on Immigrants Rising, at Immigrants Rising on Instagram, and you can send us questions there or use the Google form that was dropped in the link, and one of us will reach out back to you. So that wraps it up.
Apply to the Kickstarter grant. Apply.
Yes, thank you.
$2,000. $2,000.
Does anyone else want to add anything? But yes, apply to the Kickstarter grant, and even if it's just an idea, put in the application, and hopefully we can support you on your journey. Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening, and please stay safe.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.